I'd like to call this meeting of the Windham Southeast Supervisory Union to order, and I have something to read. The meeting of the WSESU will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely, and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures that the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or the public body has technical difficulties accessing the meeting remotely, please alert us by email. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting if necessary to time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call in accordance with the law. Okay. So before we enter the consent agenda, we have a slight change to the agenda in that Special Education Department is not able to be here tonight, so our presentation on Act 173 will happen next month. I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 16th, 2023.
So moved.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there any discussions, any additions, deletions, subtractions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? The minutes are approved. Moving on to finance. Okay, time for me to make a motion. I move that we approve the warrants of August 16th, 2023 in the amount of $270,853.51. The payroll of August 11th, 2023 in the amount of $529,310.83. The warrants of August 30th, 2023 in the amount of $496,82.31. And the payroll of August 25th, 2023 in the amount of $464,592.03. Does anyone want to talk about any of the warrants?
I would, just general questions if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our big vendors is WHALLEY, Whaley.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us something about them? They're in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you you compared local vendors. You try to buy local whenever possible.
Oh, yeah.
But could you tell us what they do? Do they sell us computers or computer service or what?
Both, yes. They do sell us computers as well as an internet service that it screens for fraudulent, email phishes and that sort of thing that unfortunately is pervasive and daily. That's a relatively expensive service from through Wally, and that was required as a result of our cybersecurity insurance policy holder indicating they wouldn't renew our policy if we didn't have that kind of service in place.
Yeah, they're a big vendor, so the last warrant was like $45,000.
Yes, yeah.
And that was mainly for cybersecurity?
Most of it was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
See,
42,000 of that 45 was for the specific monitoring service that goes across all of our systems, and that was required by our insurance carrier.
Another general question, if I may, we have time tonight.
Mm-hmm. Certainly do.
We spend a lot of money on locksmiths. Why is that?
School building security is absolutely essential, and it is quite expensive to coordinate security to a front desk so that there's a buzzer system or a release system, and those things have to also generally be coordinated with a fire alarm system. So they are expensive and they're vital.
Vital, yeah.
Yeah.
So as a follow-up to that, Does that include security cameras? Or is that
The
something different?
locksmith vendor generally it does not do the security cameras, but,
Okay.
but we do have other vendors
For that? Mhm.
Mhm.
And who are priority placements? What do they do?
They're a local education support agency. Mark, you want to say a little bit about them?
Yeah, so it's a separate school outside of our school district who we've partnered with in serving needs of our children that were having trouble serving in our schools at the time. The great part about priority placement is we have a really good relationship with them. And when a student is placed in priority placements for additional supports, the goal is always to transition back to the school, which typically happens.
They provide tutoring services?
Essentially,
Yep. And it's, instruction.
in a school setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last warrant was $155,000. So it's expensive.
Yeah.
I was glad to see $99,000 for Inspire. Do you know about how many autistic children are served by them?
I don't.
Very small. They are one of our independent schools, and I communicate with them regarding what's called equitable services for some of the consolidated program for sons. It's in like a dozen or so kids. It's a very small school.
Yeah, okay. Inspire is right here at the old autistic, Austin School. And then very often there's names on the warrants that, it's just not clear at all who they are. For example, FM Kuzmeskis.
Transportation provider.
Oh,
the
that's
bus.
I thought I knew that name.
Mhm.
I should have known that. What about Frederick Chamberlain?
So another one of the independent schools that accept our students for special education services.
Okay. And one more. This is interesting for me. Two more. $20,000 for Apple Incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Generally would be equipment.
Okay. Beyond what Wally can provide.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we use many vendors for equipment purchases.
Wally's generally where we get the Chromebooks for kids. Apple is where we get laptops for teachers.
Do we use Brown? Your local?
Interestingly, Brown can't sell to educational institutions. They can only sell. That's part of the deal with Apple.
Interesting.
Apple, we have to buy direct from Apple.
We've used them for service, though.
We can use them for service, for anything that's, particularly it's under Apple Care or anything like that, or for individual, like I buy an individual a home computer from Brown.
Yeah.
But Brown cannot sell to educational institutions.
So we go local whenever we can.
Oh, yes.
One more. Inome Incorporated Gold Book. What is
Gold
that?
Special education.
Oh, of course. What is it exactly? So it says Gold Book.
So, software for writing IEPs.
Ah, okay. I knew you'd have quick answers. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, we're approved. Frank, did you want to give us any kind of presentation or year-to-date or anything like that?
I wasn't planning on any kind of a formal report, but similar to last night at the SD meeting, we are well underway with the closing of the fiscal year in 2023, ended a couple of months ago. And similar to the SD, the SU spending is within $50,000 of its $31 million budget, so it's very much on track. On the revenue side, we had a bit of a favorable receivable on special education expenditures that we hadn't anticipated. It is part of quite a few changes in the legislature around, it's actually related to Act 173, around the way in which the state funds special ed. So we'll have a surplus on the revenue side, and that will increase our fund balance a bit. Yeah, we'll be sending reports off as well for the SU toward the end of the month, and I'll be sharing the reports with the board at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
I can give a few updates too, man.
we have an administrative report. This is also where we have a presentation that we aren't having.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. Life happens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Tate and Whitney can't be here with us tonight. But we are excited to give that presentation at our next meeting. So a couple of things I can share is I've brought forward hard copies of our board presentation calendar. And an addition that we've made is adding a column for the location of the meetings. And I know our SU meetings typically will stay right here at Cusick. Our Vernon Elementary meetings will stay at the school in Vernon. Our SD meetings, we've developed a schedule where most of our meetings will be at Cusick, but we will also visit our other schools once throughout the school year. So these are just hard copies for you. I will follow up with an electronic version for this board, the SD board, and the Vernon board as well.
Thank you.
And we spread them out based on feedback that we receive from principals and things that are going on in their buildings during the school year. So that should be good. Wanted to give a quick update on our website. It's constantly evolving. Yesterday, spent a couple of hours with Paul and Mo looking at doing some changes. And I got to see firsthand how, in my opinion, how complicated it really is to make basic changes on the website. And we're so thankful to have Paul to do that work for us. But it's kind of the number of cells that you have to click through, the formulas, but just to add a button to a website is not as easy as you would think. So I definitely got an appreciation for that firsthand.
I think it'd be a lot easier if there was somebody with a few better WordPress chops, but we get there.
Maybe, but we got there. Some of the changes that we have on the website, we added a button under school boards, and that button is reports to the board. So the goal this year is, as we give presentations throughout the year at all 3 of our board meetings, we're going to house those on the website so that we can have easy access to them and we can refer to them throughout the year. Is it updated?
It's up there on the screen.
Oh.
So if you go to the home website, go to school boards, down here on the main drop down, reports to boards. We have to fill stuff in, but that's where we'll fill it.
So hopefully by the end of the week, last night's presentation will show up on that page. And then obviously presentations from the SU meetings will occur on that page, as well as Vernon. So that's an addition. Under my superintendent page, we've worked at streamlining communication. So there's 3 forms of communication, and this is one of my major goals for the school year. So general communications that I send via email, dating back the last few years. Starting in March of last year, started a monthly superintendent report to the board. So again, we will house those right there. And then as we build more newsletters, the SU Connection, we'll keep those there as well as in other places on our website. But that's like a condensed way to get to go to for communications.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About SU connections. So it's really good. There's some really informative pieces there. I wonder, do you think it would be appropriate, it might be appropriate if the boards agreed to have a board section there? That would have been a really valuable place, for example, to advertise the open seat on the board. And so would it be possible to have news from the board in the connections piece?
Certainly. We actually had a meeting today with Kelly, Deborah, and Ann. We meet every 2 weeks as a check-in, and we reviewed that as
Great
as an
minds.
option. Yeah, so absolutely. I guess the only other thing I can share is upcoming in October, we'll be holding fall benchmark meetings, so our fall data meetings at all of our schools. That's always an exciting time of the year to kind of get a formal sense of where we are and set goals for moving forward. So we'll report out on that in more detail as those meetings take place and provide more specific data meetings throughout the year. But October's a busy month. It's lots of meetings with lots of teachers and calculating and housing lots of data. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So just some general updates.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for Mark?
I had not a question, but a comment that I really appreciate having the reports to the board in one location. I think we get so many emails that sometimes trying to track down where the email is that had that will be helpful for the board. But as I'm always happy to have things shared during the board meetings for the public, so the public has an idea of what's going on and what the work is that we're doing. I really love that the public would be able to go to the website and then be able to access the documents in the future. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
One thing that I think the boards might consider, we pass resolutions all the time. Resolutions are important. It might be good for the board website to have a list of their resolutions passed this year and for going forward.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Because sometimes I lose my notes and I can't find, I know we passed the resolution 6 months ago and I just can't find it.
Wow.
Or it takes hours to find it.
We want to be a little judicious. I don't think we want all minutes and minute approvals and warrants and all of that.
No, it's just
No.
resolutions.
Right. I think that would be a good idea to have the motions in one place as against motions about not warrants and minutes, but
Resolutions passed.
yes, sorry, resolutions passed, motions passed, right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're thinking of it more, that I'm thinking of it more in terms of like a big thing we do, like our commitment to diversity, as opposed to we agree to hire a new teacher.
Yes.
Right.
Or
That's
create a new teacher, well, maybe create a new teacher position, would
Right.
be notable, but
Yeah. So there's some judgment there.
yeah, it's a bigger thing, it's not every darn thing that we do.
Exactly.
So maybe the Communications Council Committee could identify some of those resolutions you would want
Yeah.
to be highlighted, and then we can go from there.
This fly likes me.
Or a different
Let's
committee.
do two. They're popular. And we can have a motion to supply this room with fly swatters.
So moved.
But as we presented the new website, one of the things that we tried to share is that it's not perfect on day one, and it has to evolve over time. And that's what we're trying to highlight here. So that's a good example of the resolutions.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I do.
Sometimes.
Okay, thank
So-
you again.
So can I just ask, so we just talked about something like the Communications Council Committee. So how do they receive notification that we'd like them to identify motions?
I was planning on doing it myself. so-
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
I thought I'd just send Ruby out an email.
Right.
Okay. Here is where we would normally have public comment on non-agenda items, but we don't have any public. So, moving on to unfinished business. Has everyone had a chance to read policies presented for a first or second reading? All of these are approved by the SD board, and since 80% of us are on the Policy and Amendment Committee, I feel pretty comfortable with what we've done so far.
So I have a question about the process. I was thinking about this because on the SD side of the house, we go through each policy with a fine-tooth comb. On the SU side of the house, and I know Carrie appreciates this, they're just lifted en masse. And that's fine. I'm just wondering, does every policy belong on both sides of the house?
I think it's for legal consistency.
I see, okay, so
So,
SU and SD.
If we had a policy involving, say, an average student, it would apply, but also like a special ed student that comes under SU. So I think that's why. And ordinarily, if this board had separate policies, we would do the same thing we're doing in policy and amendment, but consistency, I think, is what we're after here.
Okay.
So,
All right. And so we go through the motions of the first and the second reading,
yes.
and ultimately to
Yes.
yes, okay.
And these are all scooped up from things that are already approved.
As
by the
long
SD
as
board.
references to school district get changed to references to school.
Yes.
To supervisory.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Mo has been handling that, but yeah. Ah. Okay, and I have the VSBA superintendent evaluation here. It's merely a placeholder in case anybody wanted to talk anymore about it. October 5th, 5 o'clock, VSBA will be here to meet, well, they'll probably have Zoom to meet with us to discuss how we want to customize it and how we will move forward.
I have a little update on that.
Sure thing.
So I contacted VSBA, and they said that, no, it's not possible for teaching staff to complete those surveys. It's only for direct reports.
Right, I knew that. I thought I answered it that way. No, I asked
Okay.
Sandra about it when I talked it over with her. I said, is there a way we, and they did say that the VSBA has some mechanisms to evaluate, say, the district through the teachers or through the families. But that would be a separate contract from superintendent evaluation. And it is geared toward direct reports and the school board.
So can we just restate that, please,
Sure.
one more time?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which part of it do you want me to restate?
Just in terms of what the VSBA says we cannot do.
The VSBA says the superintendent evaluation does not include sending it out to rank and file teachers or to families of students. Though we could do a similar thing involving those people, but it would be separate and apart from the superintendent evaluation.
So with the last evaluation that took place, the 360, it did not go out to teachers?
No.
It did not. So it went out to the board, it went out to other administrators, and
That's it.
that's it.
Well, both
Curriculum.
Yeah, both boards it will go out to.
Yes.
All three boards.
Yes,
Yes.
all three boards.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All three boards,
Mhm.
and all of the administrative staff, and Mark's key administrators, for example, I bet Frank and Paul will be on that list.
At the last social justice meeting, we discussed Paris doing it, but it's out of question.
It is. We could talk about doing something else similar, but it won't get, the VSBA just doesn't do that with the superintendent evaluation.
Yeah, and according to Sue, the rank and file teachers weigh in on the district and the superintendent via their evaluations of the principal.
That makes sense?
Sure.
Okay, anything else? All right. Moving on to new business. Mark, do you have personnel for us?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. Lily DePino, who's been serving as our district math coach for a number of years, has submitted her resignation, and she's moving on. So it's a big loss for us, sad loss, but happy for her and a new opportunity for her.
Which school?
Works out of central office as a district-wide math coach.
I would entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Lily DePino with regret.
I read her letter if you wanted to read it individually.
So many.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I'm going to ask for opposition on this. Thank you for your service, Lily. I remember when you taught at Putney Central. So
Yeah, she touched it, wow.
Incredible.
yeah.
Do you want to read Deborah? Pass it on. Just in case you want.
Hired, retirements.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
The other piece of new business that we have, thank you, it's in other business, thank you, Deborah, is that this board needs to select a member to be the voting delegate to the VSBA annual meeting that will be occurring at the end of October. I will not be there, so.
So in reading the fine print, this meeting takes place on the first day of the conference, October 26th at 4 p.m. And it's the VSBA's annual business meeting. And it says each member, supervisory union, supervisory district in good standing may designate one delegate to vote at the association's annual meeting. Please set time aside at your September board meetings to appoint your voting delegate and provide guidance to them. And then that delegate needs to register for that meeting, even though they're already included in the conference, but you do have to register separately for the meeting.
Are we in good standing?
Well, I was wondering about that.
We are in good standing. I believe that means we've paid our dues.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
I think we'd have to be really awful to be out of good standing otherwise. So I'm looking for a volunteer.
So just before that, so for those of you who are more experienced, what is the business of the business meeting?
I have not gone to this before.
Got it.
It is probably heavily based in resolutions, things that they wish to bring to the legislature. Yeah.
Setting dues.
Yeah.
Did you go last year?
I went to the conference. I didn't go to that meeting last year.
Is it typically superintendents, do you know?
Board, I think board
Yeah, the
reps.
business meeting would be VSBA reps.
Mhm.
And it is typically, as Ann said, focused on the resolutions for the upcoming period, the legislative session, provide feedback on the state of public ed in Vermont from a school board's perspective.
Sounds like a great opportunity for somebody to network, Deborah.
It sounds like a great opportunity for someone who has years of experience networking, as against someone newly elected, relatively, or maybe I'm not.
You're not a noob anymore.
I'm not.
But enough. I nominate Deborah.
Second.
Well, the only person I'm willing to entertain objections from is Deborah.
Well, it also says provide guidance to them. So I presume that guidance comes from Windham Southeast, and I certainly am not aware of legislative issues coming up, and I don't know how many of us are.
We will get a certain amount of information at the annual meet, the regional meeting, the Zoom meeting.
Oh, coming up.
That's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we'll get a lot of information then, and I imagine that they have it all linked on the website.
Mhm.
And I'm sure Sue Siglowski would be glad to
Yeah.
respond to any questions you might have.
So I lose break time.
Well,
To
I
attend
mean,
this meeting.
Or email.
Yeah, email or phone call, yeah, anytime.
Sounds like a
No, I'm
fantastic
talking about this
program.
business meeting on the 26th.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of that guidance that you're looking for, in terms of, you know, how to prepare and, yeah, I think Sue would give you good orientation on that, you know.
I bet they provide donuts.
It's better than donuts. They do like this program.
So are you waiting to hear something from me?
I'm waiting for you to hear, because everybody seems to agree with this. But again, you're the one who would have to do it, so.
Okay, just bear with me 1 second. And, you know, it's interesting. Do you have a sense of how long this meeting lasts?
Typically, it's only a couple hours.
Yeah.
Well, it would have to only be 2 hours, given I'm looking at the agenda. Mhm. So be it.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I
You're
agree.
very welcome.
Deborah.
I think people owe me.
Thank you for volunteering.
I think probably people do owe you, but I think our students are gonna wind up being the ones who owe
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah.
Oh, Carrie.
You're the best, Deborah.
you. Is there any other business to come before this board?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there being no further business, I move we adjourn.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And this meeting is adjourned at 6:32 p.m. Thank you all very much for everything.
Thanks, Anne.